Today I wanted to interview somebody and bring somebody to the table that could maybe offer your practice a really unique service that might solve a whole lot of problems for you. And it's an ongoing problem. I want to introduce Connor from CallForce, Connor Ludlow. He's one of the founders of CallForce. CallForce has a variety of different services they offer, and in this particular episode, we're going to focus on their ReCare product. And so with that, I want to say hi to Connor real quick and ask you how life is.
Hey, it's going good. Can't complain.
I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. So one of the challenges we hear all the time, or one of the challenges doctors bring to me all the time when I meet them, the first thing usually out of their mouth is, I need new patients, I need new patients. And having a master's degree in marketing, I love that topic. However, it's a really annoying topic to me only because I then always come back with, if you had every patient, if you retained every patient of yours who you'd ever had in your practice, would you ever need a new one? And guess what the answer is I almost always get? No. So one of the challenges is, if you look at the data of where we lose patients, 1 to 3% of patients are going to just move or die. Well, probably die due to age or whatever the case is. You're going to have another 3 to 7% of your patient base that's going to move because it's a more transient society than it used to be. Then you have this other segment of somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25% of your patients that you could potentially lose to a deal down the road. I just decided to try another practice, but that discretionary piece that you should be able to retain or keep in your practice if you do just an amazing job. And to me, if we can keep those patients, why go spend a ton of money on marketing to new patients, putting up a billboard or TV ads or whatever it might be, pay-per-click, when if we can just get those people to come back in the door, it's a far lower cost than getting a new patient, a whole brand new patient. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about how you guys solve that problem, and if you've got any ancillary data, hopefully none that conflicts with the data. I always tell people 93% of every statistic's made up on the spot. By the way, most of those were not. Most maybe be the key word, but I didn't print out my stats ahead of time, so I'm going from memory a little bit. But tell me about that challenge that you guys face and how you've solved that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I think you kind of hit it right on the head. People are spending money to get these new patients, and then they come in for one appointment and walk right out the back door. And so what we try and do is just shut that back door. Kind of our big thing that we say is we want to help offices capitalize on their untapped potential. And what we mean by that is what we've seen. We did actually a study of about 200 dental offices, and we found that on average about 45 to 50% of the dental office's patient base was just kind of floating there as like an overdue patient. And obviously you have, what you mentioned, people in there that have moved or people in there that might have passed away or just doing something different. But 50% is a huge number. I mean, that's half of your patient base. In some offices, it was even higher than that. And so what we try and do is we help you capitalize on that untapped potential. People that are just sitting there. You could go out and spend marketing dollars to get a new patient, or you could just try and get those patients that you've already spent that money on back in the office. So we'll actually call out to those patients. I know you guys all love recall, but we try and take that off of your hands and put a system into it so that you know that your recall is getting taken care of. It's actually kind of interesting when we get into offices, oftentimes what we'll see is it seems like kind of the first 10 to 15% of a list will get called. And then like the last 10 to 15% of the list will have been called. And it's usually because whoever's doing recall at the office will sometimes, start off from the beginning or they'll start off from the end. But then that middle section, recall's it's a hard thing. And so a lot of those patients aren't being reached out to. And that's just basically money sitting there coming back into your practice. And not only money, but, patients, the people that you're trying to build a relationship are just waiting for that phone call.
Call that problem you just described middle of the alphabet discrimination. They don't call the K's and the M's.
Exactly.
I'm totally kidding. But it's funny, and I completely agree with you. They always start on the top of the list and they hammer the top part of the list, the A's to the E's, L's, whatever it is, and never get to the back half of it or the middle half or wherever the case might be. And for a lot of reasons. One is limited time. Two is frustration, don't enjoy the process, or even I've heard some people say, I hate doing that part of the job. And I get that because you feel like you're doing telemarketing or telesales. And personally, I think that whole concept just needs to be reframed, because to me, I'm not doing telesales. I mean, these are people I know that I've treated, that I love and care about, and I just want you to stay healthy, and you're not staying healthy because you're not staying active in the practice. And it's not a financial thing as much as it's a healthcare thing. So having a systematic solution to it, I think, is a great solution. And one of the reasons why I think people hate it is because all they do is they call and they get voicemail. Because right now, if someone's calling you, right, we're not answering the phone because we're sitting here working. And I think that's one of the big challenges as to why the success rate is so low and limiting. How do you guys resolve that topic?
So we're a little lucky because this is all we do, right? And I totally understand people don't like recall, but we love it. I mean, that's what we do for this service. And because of that, we actually set up systems to it. So obviously we're trying to give you guys a system, but on our end, we've created a system too that allows it to be a lot more productive. We found that on average, it takes about 22 phone calls to schedule an appointment, which if you're sitting there dialing that number each time and then getting the voicemail and leaving a voicemail, that can take a lot of time. For us, we have a phone system that takes care of that side of things for us. So we'll actually go into your practice beforehand. We'll go into your practice management software. We'll pull a list of all of your overdue patients and kind of filter through it off of a couple criteria, just to make sure that we're really getting the right patients to call. And then we put them into this calling software, which allows us to go through. We don't have to type in the phone numbers. We don't have to, if it hits voicemail, it just kind of moves on to the next patient. So we're able to go through these phone calls just a lot quicker because that's all we're doing. We're not sitting there with other distractions. We don't have people there at the front desk. So that is really why we're able to make this a very efficient process for your practice.
That's awesome. And then are there certain times of the day that you guys target to increase the likelihood of success?
Yeah, exactly. So we actually only call in the evening hours. So we're going to start calling when your practice closes. We'll usually start around 5:30, and then we'll call till about 7 or 7:30 at night. And that's all in your local time zone. The reason why we do that is that we found that people are about twice as likely to pick up the phone during those hours. And, it kind of makes sense. You're at work during those hours, and the people you're calling are also at work during those hours. And so we try and catch them in those evening hours when they're at home or at least a little bit less busy and able to pick up the phone.
And then if you catch me on the phone in the evening, are you actually scheduling the appointment for me as the patient?
We are. So this isn't, us sending over a message. This is us scheduling the appointment all the way in. And we do that using we call it a doctor profile. It's like our little training guide for your office. So that's something that we would set up when you first come on board with our service. We'd go through what operatories to schedule with, which hygienist you prefer things scheduled with. And then if there's anything like a staff meeting or certain days that you're closed, we take all that into account. And then using that, we're actually able to schedule those appointments directly into your practice management software. So you don't have to do any work. We literally take care of recall for you.
Do you know how many people are cheering and standing up, giving a standing ovation right now?
I hope some are.
I'm sure there's at least a few, because they're sitting there going, are you kidding me? I don't have to do this. Now, the obvious question the people standing up cheering and clapping right now are asking themselves is, what's this going to cost? And not that I want to necessarily get into your fee structure, because I'd rather they have that conversation with you. But I want to focus on how that structure is set up, because I think that's of paramount contrast to a lot of other people who offer something like what you do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super glad that you brought that up, because one thing that we're really big on is we want to be a part of your team. We want this to be something that benefits you. And we don't want that to be, hey, we want this to help you out, so here's a year-long contract, trust us on it. We want to prove that to you. So our pricing, we actually only charge for results. So you would only pay us if we schedule an appointment. So if we don't schedule anybody, you wouldn't be on the hook for anything. And then on top of that, it's all month to month. So if you don't like it, if it's not working out for you, you're not getting the number of appointments that you want, we let you walk away. There's no cancellation fee or anything like that. We believe in our service, and it's honestly provided some great results. We usually see about a 10 times return on investment, especially when you take into account the additional work that comes from these hygiene cleanings, things like fillings or crowns, especially when people are 2 years, 3 years overdue. And we want to prove that to you. So that's kind of how our pricing works.
I think about what my business philosophy is, and anyone who knows us and who's watching this now understands why we have you on here. Because lots of people in your space, as I'm sure you well know, charge some sort of a monthly fee to do this stuff. There's no guarantee of any sort of success. And unlike most dental practice management folks, we're about the only ones, to my knowledge, I'm sure there's somebody, but I don't know of too many who promise and guarantee results like we do as well. So to hear you saying that, hey, you don't pay me unless I'm successful and I schedule a patient for you, and if for some reason you think I stink, you can let us go at any time and we're not going to put you on the hook for some contract or cancellation fees or any of that other sort of garbage. Meaning you are just like the real deal. I'm just going to show up and work and you pay me if I get the job done and I do a good job. How rare is that in this day and age, and how awesome is that you guys can offer this to any dental office that is looking to change this? And I realize it's a rhetorical question. It's really an accolade to you guys philosophically for arranging such a really cool product. Tell me about, if you were to, the average single doc practice hires you for the ReCare service to come in and start making these phone calls, what's kind of your average result that you guys have seen in terms of the success and how many patients you've been able to schedule?
Yeah, for sure. So it ranges from office to office. Obviously, it depends a lot on how many patients there are to call. I think I kind of already mentioned that 22 phone calls is usually about one appointment. Really what we see, though, that's been pretty consistent across the board, no matter of office size, is that ROI, the return on investment. We usually see about a 10x return on investment. I think that our average appointments is somewhere in the 12 to 13 appointments per month per office range. Again, take that for what it's worth, because we have some that are a little bit smaller and 2-3 appointments a month is what we get, and some that are larger and we get in the hundreds. So it depends a lot on the size of the practice. But the nice thing is that if you look at it at kind of an individual appointment by appointment basis, we're getting that 10 times return on investment.
That's pretty awesome to me. Are there any other concluding thoughts that maybe I haven't thought to bring up or to ask questions about relative to your ReCare service that someone might want to know?
Yeah, I think something that would be interesting too is that here we're giving away $150 of free service for everybody at Accelerate My Practice, which is super nice. We actually built a custom page for you guys to go to kind of claim this offer, and we can give you the link for that later. But feel free to reach out to us. I mean, again, we don't want this to just be some crazy big sales pitch. We want you to talk to us and we can go through some specifics for your situation, your office. So go to that landing page, give us your info, and we'll give you a call. That won't be binding by any means. It's just kind of to go through everything and see how it would fit for your practice. And we'd love to run through a little plan for you.
While you were chatting, I put up that page, that landing page, but to give everybody the URL, and you'll see it scrolling across the bottom, it's info.getcallforce.com/accelerate my practice. So they'll all have it and have the ability to reach out to you guys, which is pretty awesome. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on with us. I also want to preview a little bit. We are shooting a different episode as well on their answering service. So if you ever have the challenge of your phone ringing and people not getting to the phone fast enough, or people calling after hours and people not answering the phone fast enough, you might want to go find that video and watch it, because we did record, much like this one, an entire 10-minute segment on that product as well. So kind of an awesome, similarly awesome product. And it's been such a pleasure getting to know CallForce and your leadership team and who you guys are and the philosophy of what you guys are. I love meeting great people, and I can't thank you enough, Connor, for taking the time to be on with us and to chat with us and share with our whole audience what all you guys do. And unless you have any other concluding thoughts, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate it. It was fun talking to y'all.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you guys all enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you again next week. Have an awesome day.